All right, y'all. I want to do another deck spotlight of something that I have built. This is a modification of a precon of the Captain Negathrod precon, which I think is called like Yarmades or something like that. It has a really funny name. I built this a few years ago and I am super excited to go through it because I am a huge fan of this deck, and honestly, out of all of the decks that I've built so far, this is the one that makes my husband the angriest. So this is Captain Negathrod. For anyone who doesn't know, this card gives all of the horrors menace, and considering this is horror tribal, there's a lot of horrors in here. So whenever a horror deals combat damage to a player, that player mills cards. And then at the beginning of the end step, I get to look through everybody's like what I've put into people's graveyards, and then I can take that like for that turn. So this card kind of makes my husband angry because in his mind, this isn't like playing the game of Magic. This is like making sure other people can't play. And I honestly like this deck a lot because of that. Because like, if nothing else, like I've seen mill decks where you don't take anything, and I'm just like, why would I want to mill you for like whatever reason if I can't use that stuff later? Like if I can't use it like that turn, if I can't take something from you, I want to take something from you, you know? So the next thing I want to talk about is the card sleeves I got for these. These I got from Dragon Shield. This is like a piece of art that I found online, but then I found out like as soon as I decided that I liked it, that it was AI, and then I realized I could steal this because it's AI. I kind of call this my like capitalism deck because it's like you're like taking things from people, but then you're also actually taking things from people. This card isn't a horror, but I have it in this deck because I want to make sure that this is that the horrors are as unblockable as possible. So I gave all the horrors horsemanship. And I've never drawn this in this deck, but I'm sure when I do, it'll be that much more annoying to deal with. I added some infect creatures. I have I want to say like 3 or 4 of these, and that way the game can actually end that much faster because this one, as long as you're already poisoned, I have a horror that poisons everybody on its entry. So that's something. So then this, like, as long as, like, if these 3 are out together, like, you're out in 2 turns, basically. So I'm looking for some cards that I want to, like, show off that I've added to this deck. Ooh, like this one. Like this one. This card was like $15 at the store, and it was so worth it. Because this one just allows me to mill people, like, without attacking. Like, if I don't have a good attack, I can just mill somebody, which is pretty cool. And this one's also indestructible, and then with the right amount of devotion, it's not a creature at all. So it's evasive in that way, which I really enjoy. And I do think that these two work very nicely together because even if I don't have a good attack with my horrors, I can just mill you and steal something anyway. As you can probably tell, I really like DEMURE. Like, I really like the DEMURE color combination because I like black's versatility, but I also like blue's versatility, you know? I'm not sure if I added this, but I do like that I have a little lifelink because this deck doesn't really allow for that kind of thing. I don't think I had lifelink in this deck. You can correct me if I'm wrong. If this is part of the precon deck list, let me know. But this is a card that I don't think I've drawn this either, but I would like the option to, even if I can't take your creature, I'm still getting something for your creature, you know? So this is one of the ones that I actually draw a lot. Like, I've just been lucky that I've drawn this card quite a lot. This one is if one of my horrors gets blocked, then I get to kind of like bounce it back to my hand. That way I can save it. But then if I do get to get damage through with my horrors, not only am I milling you and taking your stuff, I get to draw cards as well. This card I think was part of the precon, but this card actually won me a whole game once because I was kind of playtesting this deck And my husband was play testing his deck. He was playing Riku of Many Paths, which is a really cool deck, which is actually really annoying. He has a Twitch stream where he talks about cards and stuff. Hopefully he does like a deep dive on that deck at some point. But this card actually like got everything off of his field and he wasn't able to rebuild in time. So we love in Garrick's Wake. All right, so this one is super great because this one allows me to get even more value out of people's graveyards, where even if I can't take every creature, because this one only allows me to take one creature, I'm still using your creatures for something, even if they're not on the battlefield, I'm still using your creatures. This one's super fun, honestly. I really like that this card allows me to take things in another way. Like, let's say I can't get my commander out for some reason. Like, the commander tax is too high. If this comes out, I can still take things from you, you know? I know I added more things. This is one of those things that I added to the deck, which allows me to just kind of like, this could be like a really cool win con. Like if I just casted it and then casted it again, I can mill somebody for quite a lot. And then that gives me a lot to choose from if I have the opportunity to steal something. Because as long as the creature cards were put in the graveyard from the turn, I can still take them and I don't have to mill them. Milling them is fun, but I don't have to mill them. So this is a way to mill somebody without having to do damage with a horror. This is one of those infect cards I was telling you about. So like if I get this out relatively early and then I can infect somebody, then if this comes out, I can just really hit somebody with infect damage and then just make the game go like twice as fast, you know? This was part of the pre-con deck, but I kind of want this in all of my decks because this ends up being a super important way to like evade a targeted removal spell, or you know, getting like counters placed on me that like make the creature go away or whatever. This allows me to just be like, nope, no thank you, no thank you. And I play a lot of blue decks, like the cards that the decks that I've shown off on this channel so far, they've all had blue in them. So this is a good way to like evade that. And also this ends up becoming like a target for removal. And you know, better this than, you know, my commander that lets you steal things. I added this card because I wanted to add like another infect facet to this deck where any of my cards can be infect cards. And I have like 4 4s in here and 7 7s in here. Like it can get pretty crazy. So I'm hoping at some point this deck can win with infect. But also I also think that infect can fuck with the way that this commander works because I kind of want people to stay alive in a multiplayer commander game. That way I can properly use their stuff. It's actually pretty funny because sometimes when you play this commander, it's not even necessarily that you want to take the stuff so you can use it. It's so you can take other people's combination pieces off of the board. And this is such a wild card that you could probably make combinations of things that should not exist within a single person's deck. Like if you pulled something from one person's deck and then you pulled something from another person's deck, and then somehow you've made a combo and now you're winning with cards with like no cards that are yours. And I think that's funny. This is another card. I'm pretty sure this is part of the pre-con, but I'm not sure. This is a creature that allows me to use every card in the graveyard, not just the ones that I'm allowed to take with my commander, which is pretty fun. And I have drawn this before, and it can be insanity, you know? And this one also allows for like milling on its own without the help of the commander, which is good. And the more cards that like you put into the graveyard with this, the more powerful this becomes, which means the more cards that you mill, which whether my commander's out or not, like it's great, you know? This is the other commander, because you know how like every pre-con deck has a main commander? This is the main commander. This was the other commander. This was the one that like you're supposed to, this is the one that like if you don't want to play this commander, you play this commander. And this came with a background, and that background was Haunted One. I pulled Haunted One out of this deck and put it into my Rat deck. And I think it works better there. And now that this doesn't have the background to go with it, this kind of does work as like a supportive unit to Captain Negathra, which is pretty fun. So I actually don't think that I've done that much to this deck. I think it's still very much its precon in like the original precon in Spirit, but the infect factor and, you know, the possibility for horsemanship, I do feel like this deck can do and be a lot of things while also being incredibly annoying to deal with. And I really enjoy that. I think the thing that this deck can struggle against is cards that want to be in the graveyard, like decks that want, you know, interaction with the graveyard. Like my husband, he runs a reanimator deck. I forget who the commander is, but I know it's Golgari. I know it's black and green. And whenever I play this deck, it's a lot harder to deal with him when he's playing his reanimator deck, because he's like, yeah, mill the shit out of me, like I don't care. And I think he actually built his reanimator deck specifically to deal with this. To make things even funnier, I actually discovered Rhystic Study last year, so I got a proxy for Rhystic Study and I added it to this deck. But the only time I ever drew it, my husband had something where my card draws were punished. So I had Rhystic Study, but every single time I had to decline to draw a card. And then, so Rhystic Study didn't stay very long in this deck because I just had a really bad experience with it. I think at some point I need to grab an Architect membership, and I need to kind of put all this stuff out there, because I actually think I might be a little better at deck building and deck modifying than I think I am. And I actually really enjoy the process of deck building. Like my last video, like breaking down my Elish Norn deck to make a Nico deck. It was so much fun. I really enjoyed that. And I hope that I have a new idea for a deck soon. There is a commander I really want to build. There's two commanders actually, and they're both in the same color category. One of them is Voha from Murders of Karlov Manor, and the other one is Rin and Seri, like the cat and the dog, where like it's cat and dog tribal. And the reason why I want to build those is because I'm a very DEMURE girly. Like I think you can tell, like with the cards that I buy and the decks that I build, I'm very blue and black focused. I have a Simic deck, which is my first deck, which is another deck I really want to talk about because that deck has been modified to hell and back. But I want to build Voha or Rin and Seri specifically because I feel like that would be like a step out of my comfort zone, because that's red, green, white, and those are colors I don't really play. So anyway, I hope that you enjoyed this. I hope that you enjoyed my my love for Captain Negathra. This is still such a fun deck to play, and I'm not sure where this would fall on like the new commander deck building scale, because I know it's not 1 to 10 anymore. I know it's like 1 to 5. I wouldn't call this like a 4 or anything. I'm not even sure if I would call this a 3, but I know this deck has won before, and I know it's won well and decisively. So I am excited to keep building decks, and I'm excited to kind of get out of my comfort zone when it comes to building decks in general. So yeah, this is Captain Negathra. This is Christine. I am signing off. Have a great day.